at least in my opinion, not enough talk about headless e-commerce because while this is a very popular question and I get it very often, okay, and what about e-commerce? Should we go headless? And it's really difficult to find more materials, more case studies or anything. But that's why we have Sergii with us, and Sergii is a developer advocate at Vue Storefront. He's a self-taught career switcher and a front-end developer. Did I miss something?
No, that's correct.
No, that's correct. Okay, so before we will dive into this world of headless e-commerce, let's talk about coffee. So what do you have in your cup?
As you said, Nespresso. Hello, everyone, first of all. It's a beautiful cup from, not sponsored, by the way, but I think it's Lore. If I'm pronouncing it correctly, it's Lore Guatemala. But it's an Nespresso capsule.
But
which
still,
isn't that bad.
Yes. But still, you know the origin and what is the taste of it?
It's a bit spicy, a little bit spicy and woody, I would say. I'm not a big. Listen. I'm not. I'm not a big expert in those, but on taste, it's spicy and woody.
No, but really, you are already doing a good job because many people just said, "Yeah, it tastes like coffee. It's bitter, dark, and it's the best because it perfectly matches the cigarettes." So something like this, right? So this is the opinion when you know that.
I cannot say that I am not agreeing that some coffee matches cigarette better than the others, but let's not go into that rabbit hole.
And apart from Nespresso, are there any favorite coffee types you like? If you go to a coffee place, what do you usually order?
Usually my go-to is double espresso. Only sometimes at some I mean, depends on the mood. Sometimes I prefer to have like very short one, like original double espresso, which is 60 ml, I think. But sometimes I just want to have a little bit more water because like 60 ml is just one shot. Like you can't even feel much of it.
True.
Yeah. So I usually don't really choose what I prefer, like Arabica or something else, right? I usually just say, give me something strong. But I don't like, if it is too bitter, I don't like it. Like some coffee sorts, they're so bitter, I cannot stand them. I still prefer when it has more like creaminess in it.
And in general, that it has some taste. You can feel that it's not just this like liquid bitterness, because there are coffee that just tastes like I said, liquid bitterness. That's it.
Yeah. This is not my type. Though I know a lot of people who prefer that. Like my father, for example, he prefers when, the coffee tastes like it was in the wooden barrel for so long, like it just tastes like wood. So he prefers that. Like, while I cannot stand that, I still prefer when you have like maybe some chocolatey aftertaste in that, or some more creamy taste in that. So something like that. Though I like it strong. Like I don't stand when you have this Americano or even filter coffee. It's not my thing. Though maybe I didn't try the good filter coffee.
I think I already either sent you or Anna the link to the European coffee trip in Romania. You'll find good filter coffees there, because they have. But I can tell you, when you mentioned your father, because at our house we also have all these good coffees and everything, Chemex. So in short, we care about good coffee, and from time to time, my parents drop in, and what do they have to bring with themselves? Instant coffee, because they think that our coffee is undrinkable, so they prefer the Nestle. And I'm like, no, I'm not touching this. I'm just not touching it.
I've seen one. I could say that I have read one article, but actually I have seen one TikTok. Even instant coffee, there are some like really expensive instant coffees that people say they taste like very, very well. But if you are talking about usual Nespresso, Nespresso, I think, right? It's also Nespresso,
Mhm.
like usual espresso Nespresso thing. By the way, did you know that in Portugal they actually call it espresso, which is it was
Espresso. Oh my.
espresso. It was so fun. It was so fun to me because like we were always laughing at people, making fun of people who are saying it espresso. And then
Exactly.
we came to Portugal. We get to the cafe, and I'm like, "Can I have espresso?" And they're like, "Espresso," and I'm reading on the board. It's like espresso. Like, well, okay, I need espresso, please.
Yes, I want this quick coffee. So it's espresso, right? It's small,
Espresso,
quick.
yeah, it's
So
quick.
espresso.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a lot of sense, this name. I mean,
Yes.
what's interesting, we already have one question about coffee. This is, what espresso machine are you using?
Me, you will be disappointed. I am using. It's a long story. Like we had DeLonghi something. It was like a standard espresso machine with this cappuccino maker thing. But then I don't want to go much into details. We had to move out of our country, right? And we were traveling a bit, and we came to in Portugal, actually in Porto, our first apartment that we rent. They had an espresso machine, Crabs capsules.
Mhm.
And we were like, well, okay, it doesn't matter. We spent 2 weeks trying to understand what freaking capsules we have to buy, because there are 4 or 5 different standards, and on the box they all look exactly the same. But then we figured out that yes, it's just actually basically normal Nespresso capsules, and we liked it. And I was surprised that I was suspicious, but from these capsules, the coffee actually tasted way better than from my espresso machine.
Mhm.
And in this espresso machine, it was, I'm not sure how to explain this. It was still too liquidy. It's like it was like more like water, even though I was reducing the amount of water and
Mhm.
increasing amount of coffee, but it was still watery. And from
Mhm.
this Nespresso machine, it was like a proper espresso. It's not so plain. It's like,
Yes,
what it's called. I'm not sure how to call this thing, but anyway, we tried it once, and then we moved to Madeira. We had the same coffee machine over there, and then we said, like, listen, we are just buying it, and we bought this, and it's so cheap. It's like 45 euros only. It's super cheap. Yes,
Mhm.
like for 45 euros, and we got a discount. This Nespresso machine plus the thing for the milk maker to make
Oh, amazing.
cappuccino latte and
Yeah.
stuff. And in total, it was like 70 euros or 60 euros or something.
That's almost
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah, compared to my previous machine, that was 600 euros, and this one is so cheap and it's so small, you can literally put it in the backpack and go. So, and we
True.
stayed with that now. We stayed with
True.
that, and like every single morning, it's amazing. Just click on the button, 10 seconds, and that's it. You are ready.
So I think that you will have an interesting task of learning how to convert normal coffee beans into capsules. I know that there are some.
Yes, you can. I'm not sure about the small ones. Like there are 2 different machines. Like you have for the small capsules, and you
Mhm.
have for these big capsules. Gusta something is called.
Mhm.
So for these big capsules, you can actually buy Alibaba, or AliExpress, whatever, all these things, Chinese shops. You can buy empty capsules that
Mhm.
comes. They're like 100 capsules per pack and 100 things to cover it. So like you just grind the coffee yourself, you fill it in the capsule and close it with the lid, and then you put it in machine. It's even cheaper than buying the capsule, and of course you can experiment with whatever sort you like.
So,
So it's a
like I
decent, yeah.
you will have a chance to do this. You will have a chance to do it because every guest of the Code and Coffee Show receives some amazing specialty coffee from Coffee Hood, a roastery from my hometown, from Łódź. And so yeah, you will have a nice chance to do it. And I think that they will also be interested in how it tastes from a capsule, because I'm sure that they never tried it.
I honestly tried. This is very nice. I will try and I will give a decent feedback on it. But I've tried coffee in so many different ways. Like I've tried them, of course, the instant coffee strips. And as a kid, I remember in the school we had, I think it was Nespresso 3-in-1, but it was something like super
Oh
creamy
god,
one.
they are so horrible.
Yes, but they had something like super creamy ones. And those super creamy ones, they were full of sugar. Like, I don't know, it was too much sugar in it. And me as a kid, like, I didn't like to drink it, but it was so nice to just like put it put the powder like just straight in your mouth. And it was so tasty. It was so great. And yeah, like coffee machines like this. I think I never tried, and I actually wanted to try it once. If you have seen, I think it was in Cannibal. Have you seen Cannibal TV series
I
about Cannibal
used,
Lecter?
yes, I did. With
And there was
oh,
this dripping machine, like very, very fancy dripping machine. Like it was like a huge installation of different small glass pipes and glass
probably
things.
it was
Like,
a siphon. It's a
maybe,
siphon for
but it was like it was so
it's
beautiful.
because it is beautiful. Yes, I know what
Yes.
you are talking about. It looks a bit like a home coffee laboratory.
Yes. And he was doing it, and I'm like, oh my god, I think this feels so good. But okay,
But
I think it's still.
I have good news for you. In most alternative coffee places, you should have it. They
Oh,
should
interesting.
they really should have it. So I must say I never thought we will have such an interesting talk about Nespresso. This is a really huge surprise for me.
I will tell you. We had one. My friend, he would visited us like a month back before he went on a trip on a ship, and we were just having barbecue and beers, and he was like, we just bought an espresso machine and this and that, and I'm like, so how do you like it and so on. He's like, yeah, it's so good. It's nothing compared to capsules. I said, like, have you tried capsules? No, I never tried it. I said, like, listen, I will make you double espresso now in my machine, like our usual capsules that you can buy, just in every single supermarket, and you will tell me. Okay. And I make him double espresso, and it's like when you are making it this Nespresso, it actually has that nice foam on top, and
Yeah.
like an authentic espresso. I gave it to him, and he was like, very nice. He was like, wow, this is actually nice. And I'm like, yes, I'm telling you, it's not so bad.
That is true. That is true. I mean, we can say some bad things when it comes to more the aspect of ecology and how.
Yeah.
And that is true. That is true. And
That
this
is
is
true.
like the only thing we get. But when it comes to the taste, I was also because when I started my coffee adventure, it was also capsules, and I was really surprised by the quality. And I thought it will be worse. And this was kind of my beginning of my coffee adventure. I mean, probably from my current perspective, also it would be, maybe it wouldn't taste that nice as it used to. But on the other hand, there are more roasteries that started also to do specialty coffee in capsules, because I mean, they see the market. They see the market that people have those espresso machines, so they also would like to try some good specialty coffee from it. So why not?
Yes, this one thing, yes. And with regards to the ecology, I'm not sure. Honestly, I haven't seen this much in Romania, and well, we are here only for 2 months, so for 3 months already. But in Portugal or Poland? No, I think in Portugal. In Portugal, they had an official Nespresso shops, and over
when
there,
you can give back the old capsules.
the capsules. Yes. You can give them back the capsules for the recycling.
In Poland, it was also the same, and you could also, when you order from the official store, you could also give the old one back.
Yes,
So
you will give them back.
from this part, it was quite okay. The problem is when you just throw them out, and this.
Yes, and answering one thing in the chat from Mohammed, that 3-in-1 coffee tastes recycled coffee. Fun fact: I cannot guarantee that this story is 100% true. But this is what we were told, at least when I was sailing, that basically how Nespresso 3-in-1 coffee started, and basically all this instant coffee hysteria started. And this is very, very smart, actually. So when you're shipping coffee, you're shipping it by what? By ships, right? And ships, usually, I will just give an example, but usually your hold space looks like this, right? So it's kind of this form. And it's really hard to get the coffee beans from these parts because you cannot grab it with the arm. You cannot grab it with anything, right? So there was a lot of remainings of coffee. And usually because when you're transporting them, all this coffee is still grinding by its own weight, because of movement of the ship and stuff. And you have a lot of these remainings from coffee left in the hold. And this is where Nespresso came smart, and they started collecting this and making instant coffee of it. Because otherwise they wanted to reduce the losses, and this is how they started it. But I am not sure if his story is authentic, honestly.
I heard that instant coffee started mostly for military reasons, because it was smaller, easier, and soldiers just needed it on the battlefield. That's how Maxwell House and Nescafe kind of started. And
Nescafe. This is not Nespresso. Nescafe. I'm telling this Nespresso is Nescafe.
Yeah, and for some reason now, so many people are drinking military grade coffee.
Well, I can say about Ukraine why it was in Ukraine that way, because nowadays it's changing, of course, but before, not everybody could afford, $20-$30, 500, 1 kilo of coffee. Not everyone had those machines.
True.
And instant coffee was way cheaper. So a lot of people were drinking this instant coffee at times.
Oh yeah. And for example, I remember when Poland drinking instant coffee was kind of the sign of being richer, because you could afford. Really? I mean, it was the time after the communism.
Yeah.
After the communism, when
everything because of communism.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Yeah, so and one last story, coffee related, about my father. He actually, even though they had this coffee machine, and I offered them to buy them coffee machine many times, but he still likes to make them. I am not sure how it's called in English, but we call it turka. It's this Turkish way of cooking it. Though in Turkey they are cooking it on the hot sand in those small pots.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
And they are doing it on the gas stove. But he is going one step further than that. He is buying in beans, and he has a manual grinder. This old, very old, I don't know how many years this grinder is, full metal or something. And he will come in the morning, put the coffee in there, put it and start. He will grind like this. I think it's just a ritual, meditation for him. He will do it for 15-20 minutes, collect the coffee, then he will make the coffee, and then he will continue with his day.
I mean, when it comes to manual grinding, I'm also team manual grinder. It's
manual grinding also.
Yeah, because it's great for the ritual. You can just
yes.
go to your kitchen, do something, and ease your mind. So
yes.
It's perfect. And talking about easing your mind that's in your head, let's talk about Headless, right?
Ooh, such a nice transition. Such a nice transition. 10 out of 10 transition, GM.
Yeah, so the most typical question. What is Headless?
The most typical answer. Headless is when you remove the head from the body. But basically, it is what it is. It is opposite to monolith architecture. So what is monolith architecture? Imagine the old way of writing code when you had backend and frontend it was basically the same app, right? Your backend was driving everything and your frontend was being basically generated by the backend. And if something changes on the backend, you need to change it on the frontend. If you need to do some changes on the frontend, you need to do it on the backend. So that is a lot of that is quite. It's not complex. At some points, it may be even more beneficial than headless, but it's a lot of work and it's a lot of manual labor. So what is headless? Headless, contradictory to that, it is similar to what Jamstack is, right? It is quite similar approach. You have your third-party providers. You have your headless provider, headless e-commerce provider, maybe headless CMS provider, headless search provider, and so on. Let's just call out some names. Let's say backend is Shopify, e-commerce is Shopify, your CMS is Storyblock or Contentful or something else, and your search is Algolia, Elasticsearch, and then for authorization, I don't know, you have ClerkDev. For something else, you have a bunch of different services, right? That you can connect. All of these services expose APIs. So you yourself, you don't own any of these services. You are just paying for them, right? And since all of these services, they are parts of your body, you care only about one thing, about the head in that headless architecture, which head is your front end. So historically, let's take an e-commerce, but Magento, let's say, right? Magento, in historically, it is a monolith. It is written in PHP, and it is taking care of generating your pages, generating templates, and everything, right? But Magento is also now available as headless. So if before, to build a store with Magento, you had to do it with PHP and all these templating engines and blah, blah, blah. And it's really hard sometimes to customize them. It is really hard sometimes if you need to do something on the front end, some UI or some filtering and anything, it is quite complicated and you need to change a lot of parts of it. And then and you have to follow whatever the tech stack they have chosen to build Magento, which is PHP. You have to follow that. Now, let's take the same Magento, but as headless. It is still same Magento store, but it is exposing all the APIs. And now you have a complete freedom what you want to do. You want to build your storefront with Next.js? Do it, call APIs, get your data, and you have the store. You want to do it with Nuxt.js? No problem. Quick, Svelte, anything else? No problem. You are free. You are not stuck with that particular pool of developers that can actually work with Magento. You can hire any front-end developer who can, fetch the request and put the data as the API, as the UI, and you can build your store. But on top of that also, you can still use your Magento store and build a mobile app for that. With the same API. You can use Internet of Things, right? Or voice assistant. And it will still, so it gives you this Omni-Channel, which is super cool. With one single source of truth, one single basically backend as Magento, you can build different customer touchpoints. This is one of the big benefits of headless e-commerce. And also on top of that, of course, it's I would say the choice. You have a lot of choices. If you want to have Magento and you want to have non-Magento search provider, you can go for Algolia, you can go for Elasticsearch, you can go for, Clevo, I think the AI one, and you can go to so many different. Same for the CMS. If the CMS has connected, if you need that with Magento, you can go with Contentful, Content Stack,
WordPress. Why not?
WordPress, basically anything. Whatever is exposed as API, you can go for it. So this kind of, it's you have a lot of freedom in that. And of course, it allows for more agile approach. You don't need to do some backend changes when you want to change front end. Because your backend is already exposing API, you don't like your front end, just go there, product.tsx on Next.js, change whatever you need, add more components, everything works. Rebuild your app, deploy, finish. You're done.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's a huge benefit, I would say, the flexibility, the speed, and ease of use. Though it comes also with cons. It's always there.
Yes. This would be my next question. The pros are amazing, but what are the cons?
It's complexity. Complexity may be the con, because let's say you have let's say product page, right? Product details page, and you have your product description, search on top, reviews, maybe some comments, how to order stuff, and let's say quick order to pay for the product, right? Directly go and pay for the product. So on this product page, what you may have, you may have search integrated, you may have e-commerce platform integrated, CMS integrated on the same page. Let's say you have a service that handles comments, because maybe your e-commerce platform is not supporting comments.
Mm-hmm.
You have maybe some service that only works for reviews. Maybe you have recommendation service, or maybe you have like some AI recommendation service. So it's like, it can be so many services on one single page. And now imagine you have 10 services on a single page that you need all of them to connect together. You need to put all this logic on the same page. Thanks for the server-side rendering. Nowadays, it's getting better, but still, your performance may struggle a lot for that. And you may basically end up with a page full of spinners spinning around trying to get something. So, like, you need to orchestrate your data flow very well. And you need to think of performance carefully when you're doing it, because it can be a lot of data. And especially, let's say, if you have your reviews are based on your products, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say maybe you have weird way you have structured your data weirdly, and then now you need to wait first for products to get the product information. Then only when the product information, you need to call for CMS or for something else. So you already have product display. Then you need to send another request, wait for the response. Then maybe another request, wait for the. So it can be really complex doing that. I mean, depends on how much you want to grow your page, right? If you are talking about something very minimal, just like e-commerce engine, it's super easy. It's just like one request, response, put the data in the UI, you are done. But the more you add, the harder it gets. That's one of the biggest cons. The smallest ones may be reliability, because all of these services are somewhere else. You may have, I don't know, not calling the names, but let's say, I don't know, SAP, right? I'm not saying about specifically SAP, but let's say SAP instance is down, right? Or content stack instance is down, or something else is down. Your app will suffer for that because their instance is down, even though it's like, it's not your fault really. But so this reliability may be hard. But again, you can put a lot of things on top of that. Like usually clients, they do their own research, whatever provider they select, and how reliable it is. One of these cons, and there was something else just now I had in mind before this reliability.
I always had this problem, with headless in general, that very often people try to kind of go headless too early. They have a really small site and they decide to, hey, let's go headless because headless is trending. Everyone is going headless. Let's do it too. And the truth is that in many, many cases, you kind of have to be big enough, complex enough for this headless to have sense. If you have a team that is, for example, handling PHP perfectly, why go headless? It doesn't have.
Yes, if you have a team already of some developers, right? You see that they are comfortable with doing it. And like a small shop, like, why would you go headless? I'm not sure. if you ask me, like, to start from the scratch, if you want to build a shop, depends on your resources, meaning money, because every
Yes.
single provider, it has free tier maybe, but then you will end up paying, right? And if you have a shop that generates you, I don't know, $2,000 a month, and you want to select services for like $10,000 a month, like, what's the point? Right?
Exactly. When
So
you can
then there is
do
no
it
point.
quite cheaply, because it's also very important when you start your business, right? You at the moment of the beginning, you probably don't have an income from the store, so it's just like testing the waters. There are so many cheap solutions to get you started. Let's be honest. We have WooCommerce. We have even Shopify. But I mean, Shopify is. I mean, it depends. If you have a bit more knowledge, going WooCommerce might be a good idea. With
Yeah.
Shopify, if you just want to click here and there and have your online store running, it's a perfect solution. And you can test, does it even have sense for your amazing shop to work? And this is kind of something that Mohammed asked here. How do you decide to go headless?
I think when you start, when you end up, let's say you are already, one question, when you decide to go headless, meaning you have already something, or you are starting from scratch? That's a question. If you are
Let's
already,
start with the fact we already have a store. We have a store. It's quite
okay, we have a
successful.
store. Okay, so let's say it's quite successful, big, you have a lot of customers and stuff, right? So one of the things, again, as I said, flexibility. If you have your marketing team who is taking care of your headless CMS, they just do some changes on the headless CMS interface, and it is already on your shop. You refresh the page, it fetches the data, you have it already on your shop. With Monolith, it will be a bit harder to do that. If you want to include many things, let's say you want to include, just an example, you want to have AI suggestion for products for customers. This is something that is available only as headless. If you want to build it yourself in the monolith, well, you can, but
You
like,
can.
do you want it to build it? So I would say that not everything that you can build, you need to build yourself. And the more you grow, the more you care about performance, because the more monolith is growing, it's harder to manage the performance. And I would say this is the time when you start considering going to the headless. Also, it's easier to switch. If you are working with one provider and you are not satisfied with that, you want to have something else, you can switch. Second thing, if you want to be more agile in this case, but basically your front end can be built independently of anything else. You can,
Even though backend blocks can be kind of built separately, because we already said that this part will be in, let's say, this Contentful, here is Shopify.
yeah.
So each team can take care of their own part. And
Yes. And again, like, if you're talking about headless, you can always have the latest thing, the latest best tech, like Next.js, for example, or Nuxt.js, right? You can just build your store with it, and you update with updates coming. Every time you are getting the best and the best tech ever, every single time, which is PHP, of course, looks like PHP. But yeah, I mean, like, you can stay quite it's flexibility and freedom of choice. It's so great. And like, even though it will be wrong of me saying that it gives you full flexibility, because if you have built your whole storefront based on SAP, right, SAP API, and if you want to switch to another platform, it's not that it's so easy to switch. With Vue Storefront, it's easy, but we will talk about this later. But you will need to still rebuild a lot of things, because different e-commerce platforms, they have different data structures, different way how to handle with API. even technologies. Let's say Magento is GraphQL and SAP is REST API. So it's a big change. It's still not that easy, but it's flexibility is the key. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, the thing that you just mentioned, I just wrote on my blog. It was about CMS agnostic headless Astral theme, and this was kind of it. That we are very often talking about the fact that headless is so easy to switch and so on and so on. But in general, when you start doing the switch, for example, from one CMS to another, there is a lot of this annoying work to be done because of those differences. And we kind of don't, I don't think that we give enough importance to the fact of thinking about this extra layer, let's call it a control layer for headless, which could make us independent from this, because we would have just this extra layer where the variable title used later in the theme will be always title, and we just connect different things from different APIs. And one more question, because it's also a good one. And in the long run, could you have a headless boilerplate tool to reduce time for new projects? And I think it's a kind of a good question about, you mentioned Vue Storefront.
Yes, I think it will be a great. There were some projects that were doing that. There was one. The SAP has their own one, but it's only for enterprise customers and only SAP enterprise customers. There was one, I think it was Frontastic, or it's still there, not sure. I mean, there are some tools, but of course, Vue Storefront, Vue Storefront is the best one. Like, do you know why? Like, so there are tools, and Vue Storefront basically is doing that. We are Frontend as a service, so which is maybe hard to understand, but basically we give you Frontend accelerator to build that. So let's say right now, and what I will show later on during this stream, we have our new architecture, which is built on top of unified data model, unified data layer. What does it mean? You can build your storefront on top of SAP Commerce Cloud backend, and then without any headaches, or with minimum of headaches, you can switch it to Commerce Tools, or to the BigCommerce, or to the Salesforce Commerce Cloud, or so Salesforce Commerce, just like that. So what it includes UI components library that is built specifically for the e-commerce. And why Vue Storefront, and I believe why Vue Storefront is great, is because we are using the latest tech, meaning that we are using beloved Tailwind CSS, even though it may not be as loved by all, but it's actually very easy to build on top of it. Though some may say that Tailwind CSS is not enterprise enough, but I will not agree. Then we have our storefront, which is basically a template with pre-built everything. Like, it's a complete store, and because it is built on our unified data model, it is giving you, like, you give your environmental variables, little bit of config, and it works. And it's not what I prefer personally, like that. It's not obscured with tons of different abstractions. What you are getting is the full source code. It's just Next.js or Next.js application with full source code. You can go to every page and you can see every single piece of code. You can change it directly, and everything works out of the box, basically. And of course, we have cloud for hosting and deploying, which is very, very important for e-commerce especially. And not official statement, but this Black Friday went super well, and we didn't have any single times off. So all our shops were running smoothly, which is great. And so yeah, that's what Vue Storefront is for, I would say, is to help you build your stores faster. And we care a lot about performance. Like, our storefronts are getting 99 in all Lighthouse scores, and it is deployed stores. And we are using all the latest features like server-side rendering and caching and CDN. And On top of that, we will also, now we are switching our Next.js store to Uprooter with React Server components. And I'm working on switching Storefront UI library to React Server components by default. So it's like we are doing a lot of things, and you are getting, like, again, a store that you can connect to most of the things that we support, and it's ready. You just put your design on top of it and do some changes and so on. But there is a huge difference in how we work, and meaning that the architecture and how it is connected. So it's not just front end, it's actually two applications. It is a front end and it is a middleware. And middleware is a standalone Node.js application, and front end just sends the request to the middleware, and middleware handles all the requests to all different third-party providers, API, sorry, not API, data orchestration, and everything is happening on the middleware. So it is way more performant because all the stuff is happening on the middleware. All the security and authorization and access is happening on the middleware. So it never even reaches the client. It's just client talks to the middleware, and middleware does all the job with different integrations. So that's why we are able to get that huge performance.
Okay, and so I know you prepared some demo.
Yes, small.
So let's go into the demo mode. What the beautiful sneakers hot drop. Yeah,
sneakers hot drops. So yeah, this is our theme. It's running locally. Where is my code? Yeah, as you can see, it's running locally, and right now I am using Next.js, though we have also Next.js running over here. I need to find it somewhere there. So let me close it. No need. You can see pages router, not yet updated, but we will migrate it soon. And we have Storefront, we have Next.js, and we have Next.js, right? So as I told you, let's say we will go to categories and product detail, some product, right? I don't know. Let's take this sneaker one. So we have this product page. This data comes from the CMS, and we have all this data available here. So let's take a look how it looks in the code. If you go in the code and you open pages, product, and you have your product ID, you can see that you have all the source code here. All source code is available for you. Of course, you can do all the changes immediately. Let's say, test, whatever. And if you go back to your store, you can see the changes are available immediately. So all the storefront, all the source code is available for you. We don't do any of these weird modules that you need to expand, extract, dependencies, injections. No, it's just code. You just get it and you are happy with it, right? The data is also getting the data is quite simple. Still using server-side props, but that will change. So it's like we are using for Next.js React query for caching and state management. For Next.js, it's just their user sync. So prefetch product details. If you look into that, nothing much. You have your result, await SDK unified get product details, and then the data is basically done. So let me show you a bit of architecture. Not going much into details, but a bit of architecture won't, it's not a workshop. It's not like I'm not going to explain everything about Vue Storefront, but at least some basics like how this architecture works. So you have your storefront, the one that I showed you before, right? And this storefront has different parts like search, product details, and this recommended product that's coming from the CMS. And then it uses this SDK that I showed you just now, await SDK.unified something. What happens when this JavaScript runs your code and has this SDK call? The SDK sends request to the middleware, which is running parallel now on my local machine. And then middleware has the endpoint for this request already, and it knows what it needs to do. It will send the request to the SAP Commerce Cloud, get the response, pass it through this unified API methods, which I will explain a little bit later, and basically just returns the value back to the SDK. So this is about it. Basically, the code. If you have written a single Next.js or Next app, this code will be really easy for you to follow. We are following best practices that are outlined on Next.js website, or let's say React query, in this case, Tanstack React query, sorry. And it's easy to follow. Like, here is the product, we have prefetched it, and then if there is no product, return not found, very simple. And then we need to dehydrate the state from the query client, which is basically we are dehydrating the state using React query. So then it will send the JSON data to the front end. And on the front end, we have this use product details that we had just now. We are reusing again React query, just getting it from that JSON that server sent us. And using Storefront UI and Tailwind and different components from Storefront UI, we are just passing this data to the template, and this template is being rendered and returned, right? And then dehydrated on the client because we are still using Pages router. So itself, it's like nothing hard. You can really just follow. Of course, if you don't know what is use product details, it's hard for you to understand. But again, all code is open for you. Here is your use product details. What it does, it uses use query. This is the query param. In case if it notices that this key doesn't have any value from the backend, it will call this function again from the frontend to refetch. And then here we passed this configuration, refetch on mount false, refetch on window focus false. This is done in order to prevent React query from refetching when the client renders. Why it is refetching by default? Well, imagine if when your server is fetching the data and rendering it, until the time the data reaches the client and renders on the client, if this data will change. It is not the case for the e-commerce, right? You are not changing the product information, product details so often. But let's say if you have collaborative environment, this may change very soon, very fast. And even between the time it is rendered and brought to client, it may already change. So that's why by default, React Tanstack query refetches it on the client again. Right. So let me show you something cool now. And I hope, let me open our docs. It's actually super simple, but I haven't done it so often. So I don't want to, to fuck up. Okay, I will say this word. Anyway, so we can, right now, if you see, we are using SAP. Like, you can't see it really, but if you go to the middleware config.ts, we can see that we are using integration SAP CC, right? And our store works perfectly fine. We have all our documents coming from the SAP CC. You can add them to the cart. You can view the cart. You can proceed with the checkout and blah, 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 and everything else, right? You can do it all. Now, but what if I want to have something else? I have been using this storefront for a year, and like SAP CC, maybe it's not the best price anymore, or I'm missing some features, and let's say I want to have commerce tools, right? So let's try and have commerce tools now. Let me go back to the code. So let's try commerce tools. You can see that here it is satisfies unified storefront configuration, and you have different ones: BigCommerce, commerce tools, SAP CC, SFCC. So let's say I want to have commerce tools. I need to change this, and I need to change this over here, and I think somewhere else. Yes, I need to change this over here. So now let me restart the app. I mean, it will start restarting itself because it has noticed that some changes were made. But let me restart it to make sure everything is fine. Localhost 3000, okay. And let me go back. And now it will refresh itself. Next.js, thank you. Yes, of course. Cookies, I think. Always cookies. Yes, let me clear the cookies. See, I didn't say his name. I didn't say his name. Or maybe I did something wrong. Wait, we will need to check it. No, I did something wrong. Now let me check what I did. Okay, this I changed. This one I changed. Okay, transfer image URL. First of all, we don't need it because it's only for the SAPCC. I think that should be fine actually. Let's pray to the God of yes. Thank you
It
very much.
works. Yes.
I didn't say his name. That's because that's why it works. So you can see now we have different products, right? And under the hood, now we are using commerce tools. So it's a complete different e-commerce backend. And you can still add things to the cart. You can look at the cart. You can go to checkout and so on. So your store is now working, but with a completely different e-commerce platform, completely different backend. It's super different, and they have like very, very different ways of that data structure and stuff. Let's do another change. Let's say, I don't know, you tried big commerce tools, you don't like it. Like you are very, very special person. You like to switch your e-commerces like every single day. So let's try big commerce now. Let's restart the app again and see what happens. Will it work? Remember these products. Now let's try something else. It will start now. Next.js. Let's go.
Maybe refresh. Okay.
I am refreshing it. Next.js is compiling. And now we have different products again. So now these are the demo products from BigCommerce. Sorry for that. We don't have any fancy for this. But right, you can see that add to cart doesn't work because the product is not in stock. You have all the sales available here. Your filters will work also, right? Like everything will work. And again, you can add it to the cart, go to the cart and check out. And it all uses the same storefront, all right? You have written it once and everything works. This is the power of headless e-commerce in general, but also this is very much power of Vue Storefront. And let me explain you why in a second. So as you remember, this is our architecture, right? Your middleware doing some things, it handles all this access and security and so on. And then we have unified data layer. What are these? So your HTTP request coming from the SDK. Then goes to the unified API methods. These are basically all the methods available for different e-commerce platforms, but under the same name. Under the hood, it uses specific integration, SAPCC or Salesforce and so on. It does the request to the platform. It returns the raw response from the platform, of course. And then it goes through something called normalizers layer. So we have one standard unified data model that we are using across our storefront. And these normalizers, what they basically do, they transform the raw data from different integrations to match our unified data model. So you are getting completely different data structure from different commerce engines, but then our normalizers turn them into a single model. That's why our storefront is following this model, and our storefront is following the types from this model, and that's why it works. Because otherwise, if you are changing e-commerces, the data comes with different property key names, right? With different nesting, with different something else. And it usually breaks. Like the moment you change one storefront to another storefront, it breaks immediately. And this is what normalizer does. They have normalized the data to be exactly the same that we expect it to be. And that's why it works so seamlessly and smooth, as you can see here. Like we can continue swapping them, doesn't matter. One of the another cool things about headless is like headless CMS, right? Headless CMS is just part of this whole headless architecture. And let me show you one quick one. Let me do it this way. I will try to fit two screens into one, like this. Okay, so we have our CMS. It is available here. If you look at the code, it is pretty simple. Let me open the homepage. Homepage for Next.js, pages, and here, slug. Okay. And over here, you can see in the server-side props, we are taking these items from using our SDK again for the CMS. And then we have our content, resolve async data, blah, blah, blah. And then we're returning this content as props. And this content is available on the page. And then Contentful has this thing like content components above the fold, components below the fold. So we need to basically split them by two different things to extract the components. And we also have live preview, but that's not the case right now. We will not be showing it. So we are fetching the CMS components here. Right, so now, let me open this one and go to the sneaker hot drops. Yeah, I used this like 10 times already, but we are approaching holiday seasons, right? So let's call it something. Somebody give me some good name for it, like Happy New Year deals or something.
Yeah, something. I mean, if you would do it like a week before, we could say Black Friday deals or something like that.
Yeah, but now it's hard. So let's say.
But I think that still this Cyber Week is still available. I'm still getting emails.
Happy New Year deals doesn't matter. 50% discount on all products. Let's say products description. I don't know. Buy. All right, and here let's remove this shoe. And since I told you already, I have used this one example before, but this is our new CMS component that we want. So let's publish changes. We have published changes. You can see here, changes are published. Let's go here, refresh the page. Wait, I am tell you why, because we need to switch here back to the SAPCC, because I'll explain in a second. We have different contentful instances for different e-commerces, and this particular contentful instance is used in SAPCC. So this is why. I remember I was stuck with this, and I spent like hour to understand like why it doesn't work. I have debugged every single thing. All right. Anyway, now it will refresh. But I will show you again. Okay, so it has changed, right? So let me just show you that it's actually changing in a bit more seamless than what we have done. So let's say like coffee and code show. And let's publish changes again. And let's refresh. And now it's coffee and code show. And no build times, no rebuilding things, because everything is on the API, right? This is headless.
Mm-hmm.
And even like, for example, if you look at some of this inspired by your picks, again, something went wrong. I don't know, did he join this video or what?
Because you commented out the transform image
URL. Yes, because SAPCC, for some reason, it gives you relative path to the images, not
the absolute one.
Not the absolute one. It gives you relative path. Don't ask me why. But even this one, right? These images, they are also coming from the CMS. So again, this is the power of headless. Your Contentful has integration with SAP. They, between each other, they can communicate, and you can generate CMS components already with the product data from the CMS itself. And then CMS is just sending you basically an API data. You cannot see it here because everything is happening on the server, right? Everything is happening on the server, but if you inspect the response, it will be just, like usual CMS response. That's about headless. That's about Vue Storefront.
In short, I mean, the part when you switch the 3 e-commerces in a matter of few seconds, this part is really amazing. This part is really amazing, and I think this is very useful, especially when you want to really do a big change with your CMS. This is kind of the moment when headless also comes in handy, because the clients don't see a difference. For them, everything is working fine. And and underneath, you can start working on changing the e-commerce you are using or whatever.
Yes.
And for the client, nothing changes. And this is important. I remember that some time ago, when I was working at Buddy, I had this webinar with Philip, and we and we talk about how many people are using Headless to update Magento. So first, so the clients can have a much better experience than using the old Magento. Underneath, the rest of the team can either do an update or not, because we know how it ends very often, right? It works.
Yes. And I unfortunately I cannot show you the, or maybe I can. I maybe can find this demo somewhere. Let me try if I will be able to find this video. Unfortunately, it's just a video. I will not be able to run it right now locally, but show more. Let me just download this video. So anyway, while it's just downloading, and I will try to show it. I was talking previously about Headless as a very cool benefit for Omni-Channel, right? Omni-Channel is when you can have your customers and when you can have your clients basically use your product from different touch points, devices. So let's say your mobile phone, somebody prefers online websites, somebody prefers mobile applications. Maybe you want to go to extreme and you want to integrate your store with Alexa or any other Internet of Things device, right? Or maybe you have some crazy fridge that knows that when you run out of milk, it needs to send the request to, to make you milk and something. Doesn't matter, but really like anything. So let me just find this video. Speaking about power of Vue Storefront, and because of our approach with the middleware, where is that? I just downloaded somewhere. Damn. Come on, just download it. Anyway, I cannot find it. Doesn't matter, right? I have no idea where. I have idea. Okay. So if you can just share my screen once again.
Of course.
So what we had here, and it was just an experiment basically from my side, but what it was React Native application. Because since we have our SDK built with TypeScript, it is completely framework agnostic. It means that you can run it anywhere that can run TypeScript or JavaScript, right? So what you can see here right now, we have a single middleware running, which is our Vue Storefront middleware, and we have two clients. One in the parallel, it will not be here on the video, but in the parallel, one client is running on the web and using the data from the middleware on the web, and another one is using the data, the same exact middleware, but powering your mobile application using React Native. And this is the power of one thing. You build one thing, which is middleware, and then you can connect it from any other place you like.
Yeah, that is true. This is something very powerful when it comes to Headless. But again, this is one of those things when you kind of have to, need something like this, because very often this is kind of the argument. Yeah, let's go headless because in the future maybe we will use it, and in most cases, no, you won't. But yeah, it's possible. Also, the thing that we kind of missed, but it's also doable to kind of have an e-commerce running both as a monolith for the main store and as a headless, because it has an API for all the other applications, and that's also perfectly fine because, yes. well, why not?
Yes, even transferring to headless doesn't mean you need to abandon what you have already, right? You have perfectly fine running monolith application that the only thing you can do, build an API, expose an API to your own backend, and build on top of it. That's headless, right? That's a very good explanation of headless. Like, you can just expose an API and then you are free to build it with whatever technology you want. It's just calling APIs.
Exactly. I mean, headless is just a nice name for calling the APIs.
Basically, yes. It's just basically a sandwich where between your data and your front end, you have that API layer that helps you to communicate between, rather than backend rendering everything and backend, doing all the hard work. You just have your front end application, which is sometimes, I mean, it really, I think it's more of it should be a business decision for sure, because you need to look at the numbers. Because maybe for you it's not feasible to run these two applications. Like maybe for you it's not feasible to pay for so many services if you have already something. But if you want to grow and you want to have more flexibility and some independence, I would say, and so on, and how you want to create your storefront, then yeah, I mean, headless is the way. But again, you need to be ready for that, both mentally and financially.
Yeah, but that's the thing that you said, mentally, because the way how you start to think about many things changes totally. I mean, I can imagine people who are kind of control freaks switching to headless and learning that. So, okay, where are all the services? Somewhere in the clouds, because this is from Algolia, this is from this, and so we don't have full control of them. Not anymore.
Yeah, but also another thing. Sorry, another thing is like, I again cannot remember exactly. I think Salesforce, but doesn't matter. Like you may have one provider that doesn't have the capability that you want, and it start making your storefront even more complex, because let's say, I don't know, some arbitrary name, Red Cup e-commerce, right? Red Cup e-commerce, they don't have ratings available. Like in general, the whole e-commerce thing, it just does not support ratings on products. So you have two options now. You either need to build your own service with your own database, of course, with everything, and that will expose API that you can include in your storefront to have rating system, or you need to look for another headless providers that has rating system for the products. It's kind of on one hand, yes, you're still ending, developing something your own, and this is another layer of complexity, because then you need again to orchestrate your API and data, and it can reduce your performance and blah blah blah. So it has its own trade-offs, right? And it is normal. But the good thing is that you can scale it very, very well. It can scale up to very huge amount of users very well, because you don't need to, first of all, you don't need to think of those services. They are your, your client. You have to tell them, like, we need this. And on the other hand, it's just with latest tech like Next.js server-side rendering, it's super fast, or Nuxt.js.
Also, I would say that one of the problems with monolith is the page is as slow as the slowest component, as the slowest part of it. With headless, we can scale it on different machines, because it's spreaded. So and many things can work in parallel. In the worst case, yeah, we will have this spinner, but the website will load. Everything will load. It will load quickly, and maybe it was just a component that isn't that viable. I mean, if it's a cart, then it's a problem. And still, the website works. It's Black Friday, and someone was able to buy this, I don't know, PlayStation with 50% off, right? And that's
buy a coffee machine,
or a coffee machine. I mean, in my case, probably I would first have to go to IKEA for a new shelf or for all the coffee equipment. It's like,
yes,
it's problematic. It's getting problematic at some point. Okay, I think that we went through a lot. You really showed. First of all, you showed a lot about the theory of headless. This was also very important, but also. I think it's not only me. The things that Vue Storefront can do with, especially with this with the switching, that's a thing. So we can say, Philip, Sergii did a great job. Give him a raise. Give him a raise.
I hope you are happy, Philip. No, actually the fun part, it's pretty funny, because we have now our webinar. It was starting exactly the same time as this stream, and I think our CEO and Philip also they are both presenting on that webinar. So it's Vue Storefront night today. Vue Storefront
That's
evening.
perfect. That's perfect. Someone is for sure watching about Vue Storefront, and that's good news.
Yeah.
Still, we can cut this small part so we can send him in an email. Just hey, watch it. Cool content,
Yes.
right? Something like this.
Right.
So yeah, I think that, like I said, we kind of covered everything. Sergei, big thanks for spending time with us, for sharing a lot of valuable information, both about Headless and about coffee, because we have this proposition here. I don't know that you saw it. Oh yes, Turkish coffee is the best. We need a coffee show only with you. So next time we're just doing the coffee show without the code.
Okay. Thank you.
And why not?
Yeah, I
Why
don't
not?
mind. I don't mind.
In short, I thought so. Yeah, so we can really think about this special episode about only about coffee. We will learn a bit about a lot of your stories, because I see you have a lot of them. So
Oh yes.
that's
You
yes,
you should have seen what I was drinking on ships. You should have smelled it. Good times.
So this was a short spoiler for the next episode about.
Join us next time. We will chat about that.
Yeah. So thanks again, Sergei, and thank you everyone for watching us. And join us in 2 weeks. We will talk about Angular. So this will be also interesting. I know I don't have a clue about Angular, so I really hope that I will learn something from that episode. If you don't know. Yeah, so also you should join us, because
yes, I will. I have.
I also I know they changed the logo to the new one and it looks nice, but that's it.
Yeah,
that's everything what I know.
Put some gradient on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, I hope that in 2 weeks and 1 day I will be much smarter. So yeah,
you will be,
yeah,
sure.
everyone, and and have a great day, night, and have a great cup of coffee. See you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.